Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Their Story Matters. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest today is Bob Ashmead from a wonderful program called Compassionate Dogs. And it's about veterans and dogs coming together in the most beautiful healing modality you're going to have. We know that dogs have an instinct about knowing when something's wrong with you. You know, they can come up and just put that little head and look up at you and you melt. Everything was bothering you at that time can melt away. And we know they have that wonderful way of just tugging at your heart. And we know that many of our veterans, not only veterans, so many people today, but particularly veterans, come back with post-traumatic stress disorder. Just too much violence shakes them up, and it's a little hard to kind of get back into the flow of life. There's many, many triggers around them, and sometimes it's really hard to live a productive life again. And we don't want to drug them. We don't want to medicate them where they then become unfunctional in life and disconnect from life altogether. So this beautiful canine program of bringing the dogs and the veterans together as a healing and a companionship and a love that is just so beautiful is what Bob is doing here. And we're going to dive right into it, exactly how it helps everybody and how you can support it. And even if you are in need, how you can get hold of them. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
A beautiful program. Now, I came across you because I was at a local shopping mall, and there were, a few veterans around with the dogs, and one was in training, cute little puppy, and then the others were kind of sitting with their partners, and one was literally over the gentleman, just like half sitting on his lap, and you could just feel the love. I had to stop, I had to talk, and I had to say, I've got to interview somebody on this. It's such a beautiful program. How about you share a little bit about why you started it, why you saw such an importance for this, and in particularly how you saw dogs being the need for post-traumatic stress disorder?
Well, that's a lot of questions, so
I
I'll
know.
try and answer them as best I can. First thing is how we actually got started in this is like most things. It was by mistake. I had been doing puppy raising for BC Guide Dog Services, and through a friend, somebody from the Comox base, which is up island from us, phoned me and asked me if I knew how to train a dog for one of their soldiers with PTSD. And I said, at this moment I don't, but if you give me time, I'll try and figure it out. And I went to a friend of mine called Mike Annan, and between the two of us, we co-founded Vancouver Island Compassion Dogs. And what basically our program does is it matches up a military or RCMP veteran with PTSD with a service dog in training. And then that team goes through 52 weeks of training. So they train twice a week with our instructors, our client services staff, which consists of 3 instructors and a mental health advisor, which is a very important thing to have. So they train twice a week, and then during the week, they have homework to do and things to do. The first 30 weeks of the program is basically based on dog obedience and bonding with their dog. So they are matched with a dog that we have in foster care, and then they start working in the program. And like I said, the first is basic obedience, so that they learn all the different commands for their dogs. And as they progress through, we make it harder and harder, so that by the time they're finished, they can do things like a 60-foot recall through 15 piles of dog treats, and the dog ignores it. During that time, they're also taught up to 7 PTSD service dog tasks. And what you were talking about, where the dog was draped across the person, it's actually a task that we teach them. And we do that, so that helps do them. So the dogs do many things. But the first thing we have to remember is when a veteran comes into our program, a lot of them are severely isolated.
Mm-hmm.
They some of them haven't left home their home for sometimes a couple years, sometimes 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
They've lived in their home and they haven't left. And if they do leave, they leave. If they're still married, they leave with their spouse and they go, and it becomes very difficult. It becomes very difficult on the marriage. It becomes very difficult on the family. It's difficult on them. So when they come into our program, because of that isolation, that's why we made the program 52 weeks long, so that we can slowly introduce them to what we have to do. They can get used to coming to our training center and driving there, coming with their dog, and slowly learning. So what we do is we push them out of their comfort zone a little bit, and then they become successful. And then we push them out of their comfort zone, and then they become successful again. And so as they do that, that bond between the dog and the veteran grows stronger and stronger. After the first 30 weeks and they finish all their dog obedience, the next step is we do what's called pre-public access. And that is where the instructors in the mental health start teaching them how to go out in public. And that's a big thing. They're going out in public with a dog, with a vest on. That's kind of, as somebody said to me, it's kind of like having a big billboard. And so we help them by taking them out and teaching them. We're located in Qualicum, so we have a lovely downtown Qualicum. So people are quite used to seeing the dogs go by with their red vests on, and they start learning how to work their dogs in public. And our mental health advisor runs them through how to answer questions.
Yes.
Because the public's going to ask a lot of questions. People are used to seeing guide dogs, but they're not used to seeing somebody who has what we refer to as an invisible injury.
Yes.
And has a service dog. So they come up, and some people ask a lot of questions. Some people ask too many questions. And, so we teach our veterans how to answer the questions if they choose to. If they don't, how to politely walk away, how to say, this is my service dog, things like that. And so PTSD service dogs are relatively new. The programs in North America have probably been around for about 7 or 8 years. So it's a very new type of service dogs, whereas guide dogs have been around for 100 years.
Yeah.
So once they finish their pre-public access and they're very confident, then we put on their jacket, service dog in training. And then they step up to another level. And that is they start working, as you saw, they start working in a mall setting. Mm-hmm. So it's a big adjustment. So they work, when they get to the mall setting, they work one-on-one with our instructors. And so they'll book a time and they'll work an hour with that instructor. And they walk them through all the different things in the mall. So in the malls, you start seeing things like escalators, elevators, people, children, Walmarts, small stores, big stores, food courts, so all the stuff. So they work slowly through that for probably 8 to 12 weeks until they're secure. And by that time, we then sign them up for what's called the BC Guide Dog and Service Dog Assessment Test. And that is given by the BC Justice Institute. So an assessor comes over from the Justice Institute and runs them through the assessment test, which is 40 parts. And they have to get 100% on it. Mm-hmm. Once they're done that, then they receive a proper BC Guide Dog and Service Dog certified card. So it looks like a driver's license. So this means this team now has all the rights and privileges of a service dog. And so that's basically what we do in a short amount of time.
Right. Yes. And, it's people don't actually understand what is post-traumatic stress. And, people who've gone through trauma, and of course, it's not just veterans or police that go through this. Anybody that goes through trauma is going to have a post-traumatic stress disorder in some way. And just some people obviously more severe than others, and people who have been on the front lines. As you said, the police, I would, imagine you've paramedics and firemen as well. Some of the things they go through, some of the things they see, it never leaves them. And it's and you never know where it's going to trigger. They look like they're having perfectly normal lives, and then something happens and it sets it off. And it's not anything, like people say, snap out of depression. You can't do that. You can't snap out of that trigger and that post-traumatic stress, because they are back there in that trauma, in that moment. And it's very hard to pull them out of it. So having that companion that is pure love, the trust, the bond between them, the dog knows how to pick that up. And we know that through that caring and that loving nurturing, it's not anybody verbalizing, come back or do this or do that dogs love.
Yeah.
And there's a resonance that comes from them, isn't it? This
It's that
vibration.
unconditional love and support.
Yes.
Yeah, that the dogs give. And there's a lot of stuff that dogs do naturally. And then what we do is we take that natural ability and we build on it. So they do things like one of our veterans, quite often he still is on some meds and he quite often will forget to take his meds. So he and his dog have a deal. His dog goes to the bathroom, takes the leather pouch, brings it to him in the morning. He takes his meds and the dog goes outside and then comes in and has breakfast. This is what they do. So this is something he helped train his dog.
Right.
Now, some of these dogs have dissociations. Sometimes they'll get into a spot where they'll stop and they'll totally dissociate. The dogs will do various things. They'll lean against them. They'll paw at them. They'll start doing things. They'll wrap the leash around them, anything they can to get their attention to snap them out of it. And so that's the dissociations. The flashbacks can come in many different forms. And as we all know, when they have a flashback, they are back there in that time, and they are right there. And so one of our veterans who had a very severe flashback was back where he was, and he could taste it in his mouth, he could smell it, he could breathe it, he could hear everything that was going on. And what his dog did was he came around in front of him, because he had dropped his leash, came around in front of him and looked at him. And when he couldn't get a response, the dog pawed at him. When he couldn't get a response, he actually knocked him in the groin until he came out of it. He kept knocking him with his nose. And so the veteran, it got him back. And so instead of being out there for hours in a flashback, he was probably back in 5 minutes. The adrenaline's still up there. The rush is still up there, but they're back in the present now. And so that's some of the things that the dogs are really good at working them at and helping them with.
Right. Yeah. Because, of course, intricately, you not only in the training, but because, when a dog attaches to someone, there's that invisible bond. It's a vibrational bond between them where they really know them. I'm going to tell you a little story of how one of my dogs saved my life. I was given a drug, this was back in South Africa, that was meant to be for depression, and instead it made you hallucinate. It actually came after the market after it killed a few people, but I was on it before then. And I'm driving along in my sports car along the cliff in Cape Town. If anybody's ever been there, it's a beautiful ride. And there's a very, very sharp bend that comes along. And but there's an area that you can stop and look at the view. But it's also a very high suicide area where people just drive straight off into the rocks. But I'm just going along as high as a kite, and my dog is sitting next to me, and she barks at me, and I turn around and I bark back. She then paws me, and I kind of paw her back. All of a sudden, she picks up a whole body and throws it on me. Literally just kind of jumps right into me. I come up to the edge of the cliff and I stop because it's a gear shift. So once the foot is off and everything else, it came to a stop. And I suddenly snapped out of it and I realized we're right on the edge of the cliff. I was paralyzed there for I don't know how long, scared to even drive, thinking if I tried to move, I'm going to fall down. But I had no idea the state I was in, but she did. And had she not done what she'd done, neither one of us would have been here. And they're absolutely incredible how instinctual they are, of her trying to get my attention, but then knowing to throw her whole body on me. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is. We teach our veterans to listen to what your dog is trying to tell you.
Yes.
So that's a big key. Listen, the dogs know what's going on. Listen to what they're trying to tell you. If you're in an area where they don't think you should be and they're trying to pull you out, go with them. Yeah. You don't need to stay there. Obviously the dog feels it's not a safe space for you, so they're trying to pull you out. If you're not gone out all day, the dog's going to paw at you so that you have to take the dog for a walk. There's a lot of stuff, and that bond forms during that 52 weeks and continues to form after they graduate. Right. Once they graduate, they just don't leave our program. A lot of them come back and become mentors. They come back and learn any new techniques that need to be learned. They help at different events and different things so that they can showcase VICD for how it's helped them. So that's we have a very well structured but very individual program for
Right.
each veteran. Each veteran comes through. They may start as a group, but each veteran is treated as an individual, and we work them through the program.
The important thing is that sense of belonging again, because as you said, they isolate themselves so much. You know, they're around people that don't understand. You know, they don't want to talk about it. It's very hard for them to explain what they're feeling. So knowing there's a place where they can go right away, knowing there's support there, and that then obviously with the dogs, there is that support and that unconditional love from a dog, but having a place that you can keep going back in and you're stepping back into purpose, because everybody wants to feel purposeful. And I think a lot of the post-traumatic stress, yes, are flashbacks, but it's also, I think, very much a feeling where people feel useless. You know, they can't go back into a mainstream life and they don't know what to do with themselves now. So you're giving people not only that unconditional love, that support, that the ability for that animal to know what they need next, to snap them out of it, that companionship, but you're also giving them a purpose to step back into where they feel they can contribute back to society, which is very, very important because we all need that purpose, don't we?
Yes, they do. I've watched, we have 26 graduates now, and I've watched each one of them from start to finish. And it's always interesting to watch them start and their anxiety's up, they're worried, they're nervous. And then as they progress through the program, they become more and more, I'm not even sure what the word is. They love coming to the program. And so you see them all the time. And then suddenly they're talking to different people. They're going out for lunch with people. You know, you'll see the older ones in the program help the new rookies that have come in and work with them and tell them, you know, it's going to be okay. You know, if you're having a bad day, you know, and we recommend, and research shows that our program, along with the fact that if they stay with a mental health provider, and still keep receiving treatment from the mental health provider, that they will have more success.
Yeah.
So we make sure that they're in our program, but while they're in their program, the recommendation is they see their mental health provider weekly. Mm-hmm. And so they're working on two things at once. And so that's what makes the success much better.
Right. And that's very, very important because, you know, when people get into a depression, they shut down. And, you know, post-traumatic stress is kind of an isolation. It is a depression. And they shut down and they don't want to be around anyone and they don't want to talk about it to anyone. And there's, as I said, there's no snapping out of it. There's also no sometimes articulating it. You know, you're in a depression, you feel the despair, you have no idea where it's come from or why you're feeling this way. And no amount of somebody talking to you is going to kind of get you out of it. So if you are, you know, have the both sides of the coin, the loving animal that doesn't need the words, then just give you the love unconditionally. But you do have a professional support on the other side that understands what you're going through and that can help you steer through that. Because one of the most important things is knowing those triggers, isn't it? You knowing when something's coming up and going on, and then you know what to do about it. So for so many people that with post-traumatic stress, and I've interviewed so many vets, and a lot of them, you know, they ended up on the street, or as you said, divorced. Families didn't understand how they were, what's wrong with them, why can't they just get back into life again, and became so isolated until they found that one thing that gave them that purpose, that brought them back into life, that kind of gave them something, gave them themselves back in many, many ways. So this is another form where not only you supporting them, but by being able to then turn around and help another vet and educate people as to the program and what is being done. There's that sense of purpose again, which then helps you through everything. And having mental health practitioners that understand what you're doing, because this is a triangle that you're doing here, isn't it? That really is very, very supportive, and one needs that. You have to have a mental health that understands the work you're doing in the way that you're doing it, so they can support you and bringing it back to the dogs, because really the dogs are the heroes here.
Yes, they are. The dogs are the real heroes. That's for
Yeah.
certain.
Now, is there a particular breed that you use over others?
Yes, we have a partnership with BC Guide Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So their dogs actually go 3 different streams now. They become a guide dog, they become an autism support dog, or they will become a PTSD service
Mm-hmm.
dog. So what they do is the dogs come over and they stay in our foster care system when they're about 14, 16 months old. And then we do intakes 3 times a year. So we use the intake between 3 to 5 people at once. And then we do a dog pairing. So the dogs are then, different dogs are then taken, and the veteran sits in one room, and then we'll put the dog into the room with them. And the dog usually chooses its veteran. And
Yes.
usually
Mm-hmm.
every time. It's very interesting
Yeah.
to watch that. And so then they get the dog. So we use a lab, and a lab is it's not that there's not a lot of other breeds that can work, but what it is public perception. When somebody's walking down the mall with a lab, people are much more at ease than walking down with another type of dog.
Right.
We do have small dogs. We have 3 small dogs in our program, and they work perfectly with their veteran. We did start using rescue dogs at the beginning, but we couldn't find the right type of rescue dogs
Mm-hmm.
that we needed for our veterans. And because we're always sitting on a year-long waiting list, it's we need the dogs. So we were very lucky. We also have received some dogs from Pacific Assistance Dogs also. And so it's great to get these dogs that come to us, and they're from their own breeding programs. Most of them are international breeding programs.
Right.
So we're getting a really healthy dog that comes into our program.
So the
then is
dogs are
ready
already a
to,
certain age. They've already gone through a certain training before they come to you?
yeah, if they come from like BC Guide Dogs, they were born in the program,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been puppy raised in the program. So they've experienced a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is they're ready to roll. What we do is we match them with a veteran, and then we train the veteran.
Right.
And the veteran and the dog train together.
Right.
And so the dog probably knows everything, but they learn to work with their veteran, and that's where that bonding occurs.
Yes.
And they become more and more because of that.
Right. My breed of dog was no, you were talking about dogs choosing. My breed of dog is Border Collie, and I've had 4 of them.
Yeah.
And 2 of them just came straight up into my arms, and that was it. And you know that, although family dog, you know, one of them was the family dog, and went to work with my dad all the time. When we went to go and pick out the dogs in the kennel, she just came right out into my arms. My last Border Collie, there was only 1 dog left in the litter, and she said, but no, they're going to go and be sheepdogs. And I said, no, I want a Border Collie. And she said, well, come and see. And we went into the garage where all the dogs were. All the other puppies were around the mum. This little one came right up to me, went into my neck, cried, and she said, well, that's the one that it was going to be. So it was was preordained. But that's that bond, isn't it? Yeah, it's uncanny. It really is uncanny, that connection. It's such a beautiful vibration. That's why, you know, call it that energy and that vibration, where that thread is already connected, and then it's just getting to know each other. You know, Border Collies would make a great thing of this because they're highly intelligent, but perhaps also they're a little bit too energetic.
Well, they're a working dog. They're designed to be behind, and a lot of them don't transfer well to being a service dog. It's not that some of them wouldn't, but on a whole, they're designed to be a working dog.
Yeah.
And so that's what they like to do.
Yeah.
So that's why we use lab crosses, and golden retrievers. Majority of them. Yeah.
Yes.
And they seem to work out. They work out really well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you look at a golden retriever and a lab, I mean, especially a golden retriever, I mean, they're just kind of like the whole look about them. That soppy, you know, big eyes, droopy ears type look about them is just pure love anyway, isn't it? You can't look at them without, you know, having the heartstrings being pulled. So right from there, they're just that bundle of love, and labs are just that constant bundle of joy of love, aren't they? They're so happy. And
Yeah,
that's
they're
the,
very happy and they're
mm-hmm,
very loving. So they do make good service dogs,
mm-hmm.
and so that really helps with the whole process too.
Yeah. And do you, I mean, does post-traumatic stress is already a disability, but have you yet worked with any veterans that may also have some physical disabilities?
Yes, our veterans usually come in with they come in with a diagnosis of PTSD, but they usually have other things. Some of them have had back injuries, neck
Mm-hmm.
injuries, even leg injuries from various things, for various reasons of what they went through during their service. And so we always match up the dog too, because some of them can't walk that fast. And
Right.
so they need a dog that's not going to rush off.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they do come in with certain physical problems. Well, they all do. And also PTSD is usually only one of the many things that's
Yes.
affecting them. There usually is other things that go along with that too, depending on the veteran. So it's many different things. And then one thing about PTSD is we can sit in a room with 20 veterans with 20 dogs and have 20 different forms of
Yes.
PTSD. And that's what makes PTSD so hard. It's not one thing.
No.
It's not, and that's why it's manageable, but it's never curable.
No.
And so in that way, each veteran is different. So we learn as we go along what their triggers are and how to work with them and how to help them. And the dog figures it out faster than we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I said, they're so in tune with them at that point,
Mhm.
don't they? I mean, they're, you know, it's like the subliminal message that's going on all the time. I think when
Yeah.
that dog makes that connection with you, there's, you know, um, they become you, even on a more
Yeah.
psychic level than you are.
Yeah.
One of the veterans I interviewed, Bobby Henline, he was blown up in a Hemi. All his mates were lost, and he was burnt to the skull, lost part of his arm, and he became a comedian to kind of
Mhm.
overcome his stress,
Yeah.
and he still has it. He, you know, I've interviewed him a few times, and you know, he'll say, I've got the good days and the bad days,
Mhm.
but he doesn't go anywhere without his, I don't know if it's a Labradoodle, but that dog goes on the plane with him
Yeah.
everywhere. Every gig he does, that dog is with him. It's his mate.
Yeah.
It's his, and it's not from any program. It's just that connection.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize how much animals are just so soothing to our soul and to
Yeah.
our psyche. And
Yeah.
you know, some people are cat people. And even just having a cat, that cat coming and sitting on your lap, making you calm, that purring, you're stroking the cats make you work. Right, you've got to
Yeah.
stroke me, you've got to love me, but
Yeah.
there's something in that act that just
Yeah.
helps ignite the heart of somebody and
Yeah.
calm them down. So animals are just incredible healers all around, really, aren't
Mhm.
they?
Yes, they are. There's dogs, cats, horses.
Yes.
You know, go. It doesn't matter what.
Yeah,
They're very good at what they do. We just have to listen to what they're trying to tell us.
that's the big thing. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's you know, people, it's just a dumb dog. No, it isn't. You know, I actually think today, and I don't know if you will agree or not, but I think that the intelligence of the animal species has become far more heightened in this last decade or 20 years. It's probably always been there, but I think what we're seeing evidence of that intellect from animals, that instinctual intellect being more prevalent nowadays. Maybe it's because we've suddenly tuned into the fact that it's there.
Yes, I think that's the big key. You know,
Mhm.
they're there. They have feelings.
Yes.
And I think, you know, for a long time they were dogs that were on the farms and they looked after the farm and stuff. And I think what's happened as we've become more uh, living in the cities, people have started to realize what dogs can do for a person. And I
And
think
a
that,
family too. I mean, you know,
yeah,
take you see the dynamics change in a family when an animal comes into it.
yeah,
You know, suddenly it's not just the plaything, but it's also it instinctually knows. You know, I mean, there's some beautiful videos and things that
yeah,
you'll see on Facebook and on YouTube
yeah.
of the dogs immediately when a new baby comes in. You know,
Hmm.
it's guarding that baby, it's loving that baby, it's pushing the rocking chair, it's
Yeah,
curling up with that baby, and it's like it's protector. I'm going to protect this child. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And I encourage that so much more, with people, that having an animal in the house is going to be something that really has a very good calming effect. Also, joviality. So many people forget how to have joy today. They're living under so much stress, and they've got to go to this program of the work, and there's the dinner and the homework, and people forget to have that silly billy stress release. And a puppy dog, or a dog of any kind, or even a cat playing with something, they know how to play. And I think when they start to play, they lighten people up and step into that joy again, which very often we forget to do. So they're a very good reminder of just how to have some simple fun.
Yeah, that they are. I think that is the big key, because you see the veteran, they need to walk the dog at least twice a day. So they're going out with the dog, they're playing with the dog, so suddenly they have this, it's just devoted to them. And to their family, they bring it in, and it helps release the stress within the family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hugely. I mean, so you can't help but smile when you take a dog for a walk. And do they go off leash with them, or are they always with them on leash with the veterans?
We prefer that they be on leash all the time, unless they're in. We found it difficult for them to go to some dog parks, because some dogs aren't that well behaved.
Right.
And the dogs still get to find the joy and go out with them, but they are a service dog. So, and a lot of our people live in cities, so they still enjoy the walk, or a backyard, or things like that, where they still get to be dogs.
Yes.
When their vests aren't on, they're a dog.
Yeah. Playing with the stick or the ball. They love to chase, they love to fetch, especially labs, they love to bring things back. And that's again, it goes back to when they're having fun. You cannot be in a sad state of being. That simple joy of the dog going to get the stick or the ball, coming back, tail wagging, throw it again. How can you be in a depressed state of being at that? You look at that little face who's just living in joy at that moment, and it lifts your spirits right up. So it's not the complexity of it. It is the simplicity of it that really is what's working.
Yeah, that's so true.
Now, of course, you've got people on your waiting list, and there's a lot more people with post-traumatic stress that would need this program. Are you duplicating this program? Are you training other people so that it can go out further?
Well, right now we're starting in Vancouver. Actually, the client services team is over there today doing their first dog experience with the Vancouver people. So that's our next goal, is to be in Vancouver. We do all of Vancouver Island, which is quite large.
Yes.
One has to remember the only 2 active military bases in BC are on Vancouver Island. And so a lot of people are transitioned out with their medical disability here, and they end up staying on the island. So we have no shortage of people who want to come into our program. We would like to move into doing first responders and firemen and municipal police, but we're so overwhelmed with the amount of veterans we have right now. It will be a while before we're going to be able to go on. It's each team that goes through our program costs $28,000 from start to finish. The veteran doesn't pay anything, and we get no government funding. So there's no Veterans Affairs funding, there's no Department of Defense funding, there's no government funding. So we have to raise that amount for each one. So my job mainly, is to go out there and find sponsorship and do events and anything to help raise awareness for VICD, which will help bring in more donated money, which will help us whittle our... I
don't understand why the Veterans Association isn't a part of this. This is a program that is just so wonderful. I mean, when you think about the meds that most of these people are on, and the cost of it, and the cost of other things that we know don't work. And here you have a program that has been proven to work and has longevity, and also then gives back with the veterans' participation. It would seem to me a logical thing for the government to step up, or the Veterans Association to step up and support.
Well, I think that may come someday. What happens is, for across Canada, they have to... they're just understanding what kind of standards are needed. The basic standard for assistance dogs is called Assistance Dog International. It's a 4 to 5 year process to become accredited
Wow.
in that organization. We just did our accreditation last week, and we're just waiting for the ADI board to get back to us. We were approved for accreditation, so we're just waiting for our final thing. But that is an international accreditation. And so once everybody starts understanding how accreditations work, and that for guide dogs, there is an accreditation for guide dog schools, there is an accreditation for assistance dog schools.
Mm-hmm.
And ADI has actually specialized, they have a whole thing on PTSD. So anybody who's doing it has to understand the PTSD portion of dealing with a military veteran. And so there is, once more people start picking up on these standards, I think that will help Veterans Affairs when they choose which groups they're going to work with.
Right.
But the other big problem is when you do a drug test, you have a placebo and you have the drug. And so, yes, the drug works, no, the drug doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
With dogs, you got a paired up dog, and that veteran's better. But so to help with that, we've actually started a research project for VICD. We're working with Adler University, and we're working on a 3 to 4 year research project. So we'll be following the veterans through their training, and then after they graduate, so that we'll be able to build up a series of data.
Right.
There was a project like that in the United States, and they performed it, and their first paper came out I believe in March or April from Purdue University. And so we're kind of working on that too. But the trouble is they're dogs, they're not a drug. And so it's hard to convince something like Veterans Affairs to help you. They love our program and they think it's great, but we have to produce the data, I think, before they're really going to take a serious look at it.
But I also think it's, when any time there is something that is a demand, when the awareness is there, and, folks, if you want to support your veterans, I mean, not only can you donate, we have a donate button right here on the posting, and plus we'll be giving out your link, but also, kind of even writing to the Veterans Affairs saying you want to see more of these programs out there, that you bring that awareness. We know that when there is bigger interest in something, that's when people take notice. So instead of leaving all the work up to you, share this program out there. If you have any influence with veteran programs, or you're in the government or anywhere else, please speak for them and help them along, because not only do we need to see more of this, you need to have obviously more support, but what we really need is to see you training other people on these programs and getting them out worldwide, because post-traumatic stress is just not just on the island, and you want to be able to help so many more people. And the only way you can truly do that is in the training of the people of this course so they can take it elsewhere.
And so the apprenticeship program that we run is a 3-year apprenticeship program.
Right.
So you have to be very devoted for it. It's not something you can learn on the internet. It's not something you can learn on a one-day course weekend. It's a long term that the apprentices have to learn. You're working with mentally ill people. You're working with dogs. You're working with public. All our instructors are trauma informed. Everybody's taken multiple courses on trauma informed, suicide, all sorts of different things. And so it takes a lot of work. It's not something you can just pick up on a weekend and learn how to do.
Right.
And so that's why we, with our accreditation now and our apprenticeship program, the only thing that's limiting us is, like most things, is funding.
Yes.
Trying to find the money so that we can expand. We're expanding into Vancouver. That's our next step. Where we'll go from there, I'm not sure. We have to get Vancouver all worked out first.
Right, exactly.
And go from there.
And anybody in Vancouver listening to this, please, you're going to get hold of Barb. You're going to find out what she needs and how people can be a part of this program, because the program just makes sense. And the thing is, you're not just kind of matching, a dog to a human and say, off you go, it's going to make you feel better. You're doing the whole gamut. It's the whole, as you say, the proper doctor mental health support. It's about because you want the longevity of this. Now, of course, at some point, that animal is going to die because they have maybe a 12-year lifespan if we're lucky.
Yeah, they're going to retire. So approximately 10 or 11 of these dogs will retire. So what happens then is a veteran goes to the top of our list, and we'll pair them up with another dog, and then their dog retires.
Right.
And so we have a process, a policy all in place for that too.
Right.
So
And of
that
course, they won't have to go through such a year program again, though, right? It will be just the program of
we'll
getting
start,
to know the dog. Right.
yeah, we'll start right at the public access part of the
Yeah.
program, and then when they're ready, they'll take the Justice Institute test.
Right.
So they, they spent a lot of time training and keeping their training skills up with their own dog, and knowing what's required. That they start again at the public access instead of at the beginning. There's no need for that. So they start that. So we have a policy in place for that, and we get them ready. We start them almost a year in advance with their dog. They need to
going to retire. Yeah.
They need lots of time to think about it and go from there. And the retired dog gets what's called a retired BC and Guide Dog Service Dog card. And that's because of tenancy problems. People who live in apartments, what used to happen is when their service dog retired, they had to get rid of it to get a new service dog, because they were only allowed one dog.
Right.
Or a service dog. So the government's new law included that a dog that is retired still is allowed to stay in that. It has that right to stay there.
Yeah, because, one has to remember that this dog is bonded as well.
Yeah.
And, suddenly to take that dog away, it's heart-wrenching for that dog, and be heart-wrenching for the partner, the human partner, because it's, my animals were my children. I have children. I've got the two-legged ones, but the four-legged ones were just as important. And, when they go, you miss them just as much. And if they're still there, there's that dignity. If you can't show that animal that dignity, right? And so it's that's good to hear that, because we see far too much of mistreatment, and they've been so loyal and so loving, and they deserve that their final days in their own terms. Do you think that you're going to see, because it's still an early program, but do you think you're going to see veterans also become instructors? Because we know people who have actually been through the process, then it's healed them. They then want to step up and be part of that. So
instead of being instructors, I think it's more important that they become mentors.
Right.
Yeah, I think the biggest key is that they become mentors, and they help the new people that come into the program. They also help when we do events, so people can, they feel strong enough so people can ask them questions, and that's really important. I do a lot of talks, about 60 of them a year, to different service clubs. I'll talk to any group that wants to hear about and learn about PTSD service dogs. And a lot of times I take one of my veterans with me and his dog. And that's his way of giving back, is he helps educate people. Right. So I think that's the important part. I think it's the fact that they mentor, they help, they go out, they see, and then they start living this life that they didn't have before. Like, we have a veteran with her dog in Europe right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We had a veteran who just went back to Ottawa. We've got one flying to Newfoundland to visit his family. So these are big things. And along the way, these guys educate everybody along the way. So that's, I think, the most important thing that they can do.
Yes.
And do it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, going back into that purpose again, post-traumatic stress can make you feel rather useless. And then when you've got that purpose, and what you're doing is in the education, you're showing the liberation, you're showing the dignity, you're showing how the program works, that inspiration, now it just gives them that beautiful purpose of my life means something. I'm counting for something. And that's what every human being is looking for, something to count on. Of course, when you first were approached by this, I mean, did you envision that it was going to be this big and this needed? Right?
No, I thought we'd help one or two people and do that. I did not realize it would become so big so quickly. I don't think either Mike or I realized. We kind of thought it might, but we didn't realize just how big it was going to become.
Right.
And, so that.
Well, that's because there's the need when something works. It really, I mean, as you said, the only thing that's holding you back, obviously, is the money. But then, of course, you've then got to train the people to be in position. So the people that are willing pretty well to live on the island for 3 years at least, to go through the program.
With the transition over to Vancouver, I'm sure we'll probably end up picking up apprentices in Vancouver too.
Right.
That will work its way out, and I think you'll see more people training there, and then that will allow us to expand our program and
Yes.
go from there. But it takes time
Yes.
to do all that. It's not something, like I said, you can do overnight. And our program is very unusual. We're the only program of this type in Canada. And because the basic way where most service dog programs work, it's dogs born in the program, puppy raised in the program, trained by an instructor, and then that instructor spends 1 to 3 weeks with their person. We looked at that model when we first started, and we were concerned that spending 1 or 2 or 3 weeks with a veteran and trying to teach them everything for a veteran who's been isolated wasn't going to work. So that's why our program became that, where the team works together for 52 weeks.
Right.
And we found great success with that program. And so
Yeah.
that makes our program different than others.
But the thing is if you're trying to do everything in that 3 weeks, you're pushing somebody. And we know that with post-traumatic stress or any form of, post-traumatic stress is a mental disorder. And anybody who has that, you cannot push people on that. You've been waved at.
I know. My employee's just leaving, sorry.
That's okay, no worries. The thing is that they have this disorder, and there are different levels of it, and there is no quick fix. As you said, there
is no quick fix.
No, it's there for life, but that doesn't mean that there has to be a complete disability with it, that they can still have a very productive, meaningful life. As you said, become mentors with this, but I would imagine for some people being able to get back into other careers, the dog just goes to work with them. And what you're looking at is really seeding and rooting something that is that really has more foundation in which to grow in stability. And anything that has that, you have to allow it time. And we're in such a quick fix society, and we've got to realize quick fixes can be vulnerable and crumble. If you really want something to have longevity and really be solid, you've got to understand the rooting, the seeding, and the nurturing, so that it really has that sustainability and have the time to do it. I would love to interview some of your veterans and hear their stories too on what it's meant to them, because I did meet a few of them, and I was blown away by the program. And I think it's just a perfect match, to put animal in.
I think it would be great. What we could do is we can set up some interviews with a couple of our veterans, and you just have to contact me, and we'll sort it all out and go from there.
Excellent. Most definitely. And hear what, from them, exactly how it's had that impact, which is wonderful, because the veteran stories I do here in Self-Discovery Radio, they're not reliving what happened to them. This is what happened. It's all about them coming back into a productive life, into a life of meaningful purpose. And because of what they've been through, that purpose is so much more driven and fruitful and meaningful and serviceable back to mankind. And that's really beautiful. We still have a few minutes here, but this is something that kind of you were guided into. You didn't know it was going to be as big as it is. But for you personally, from just the sheer idea and what you were doing before, where it is now and where it's going, what does this mean to you?
Well, this, in a lot of ways, I did this to honor my parents. I am a late baby boomer. Both my parents were military, World War II military veterans. So I grew up with a lot of adopted aunts and uncles and different things like that suffered from PTSD, but nobody ever knew what to call it. Really, at that time when they came back from World War II, there was, so this is a way that I can kind of give back to my parents for what they did at that time. And that's really important. And I too suffer from PTSD. So I know I've just been very lucky to have some very good counseling and a lot of pets. So I've been very lucky to be on that side. And so to be able to give back and help. And I think that's like it with all our client services team and our administrators. It's giving back to a population. Our model is serving those it's served. They have served us. Now it's our chance to serve them.
Yes, most certainly. And as I said, people again, here in Self Discovery Radio, I would say 98% of the people that I get to interview, which is a great honor, are people that have been through their traumas. They've been through their challenges and their obstacles in life.
Mhm.
And because of that, they've become the beautiful service people that they are today. The
Mhm.
gifts of what they've learned through going through something has taught them the
Mhm.
tools and the knowledge
Yeah.
and the awareness to help other people. And
Yeah.
so, although we don't really want people to have to go through pain and trauma, that is part of life's journey.
Mhm.
And I think the greatest gift is learning something from it and being able to help other people through
Yeah.
their journey. So, as I said, they don't have to go through the deep crevices of life. You know,
Yeah.
potholes are fine, but they don't
Yeah.
have to fall right down into the ravine.
Yeah.
And it's really a wonderful gift when you can turn around and help someone, isn't it? You know,
Yeah, it is.
see
And we
somebody
have,
better off.
yeah, we have an incredible team that wants to give back, and
Yes.
that's the whole key. Is the whole team wants to give back, and you know, some of them left jobs that, you know, paid more to come to work with us. And I think we all did in some way or form. But you know, every time we see a veteran graduate with their dog, and we see them, you know, embarking on life that's better,
Yes.
that's what it's worth. It's worth everything.
Yeah.
That.
Yes, and you know, my dad died at 46 of a heart attack, and I know that a lot of his thing was post-traumatic stress. He was a fighter pilot, squadron leader,
Yeah.
protecting the bombers, wouldn't talk about the war,
No.
you know, and this stiff upper lip of, you know, get over it,
Mhm.
old boy, you know, and nobody, as you said, knew about it, didn't know how to address it, and we lost so many people too young because of it. And then we've looked at all these wars, you know, especially in North America over the last 40 years, and
Yeah.
it's um, I'm very anti-war to start off with, but it's so sad to see so many veterans come back and in so many ways just be discarded
Mhm.
because of the invisible disease of post-traumatic. Ah, you've got PTSD. Well, so what? And they
Yeah.
don't realize how crippling it is and how much it robs them of who
Mhm.
they are and what they want to do in life. And if there's any way that we can help give them back, not only, you know, their lives, their meaningful purpose, their dignity, um, and a sense of value of life, you know, that's really important in any way that we can, which
Yeah.
is wonderful. So, my dear, how do people get hold of you, the site, if they want to donate, or if they want to inquire, or if they want to help in any way?
Well, you can go on to our website, which is vicompassiondogs.ca, and you can contact us through that. You can also go to our donate site on that and donate. That's always a big key. Right now, if you donate through Canada Helps, we are eligible for every time someone donates $1, we get it's called a vote, and the Great Canadian Giving will give the charity that has the most, that earns the most this month through Canada Helps, $10,000.
Wow, yes,
So
good
there's that.
encouragement, folks.
Yeah, you can also go on, you can choose to outfit a dog. So that's its vest and all the equipment they're going to need for training. You can choose to pay for a public access test, which is $200. There's all sorts of different things you can choose to help us with.
Right, you've got the veteran service, the veterinarian as well,
Yeah,
the keeping the health of the dogs.
Yep, the
Yeah.
health of the dog. So it's all online. So you can donate to any part or anything that you want. Just make a general donation. If you have a group of people that you'd like me to talk to, you can contact me through the website or the phone number that's on there, which is 250-954-5552. And you can contact me that way by in person, and I can answer any of your questions and help you that way. As you know, we are currently only still doing military and RCMP veterans. So, you know, we cannot at this time help anybody outside that.
Right.
So I just want to, because I get a lot of people who phone me, and that's where we are, and that's where we started. And yes, we want to move on, but to move on, we have to, as you say, train more people, find more dogs, and to do that, we have to have more money.
Right. And of course, if somebody does want to be trained in this, you have a program for that and a whole price list and everything else,
Yeah.
so they can contact you about that as well.
Yeah, they can contact us. If right now we currently aren't taking any more apprentices until our apprentices are a little further along, but we will end up probably down the road taking more apprentices. So that will be advertised. We also have a Facebook site,
Hmm.
and you can stay up to date on that. And like everybody else, we're also on Instagram.
Right. And the
So
Facebook and the Instagram links are?
the Facebook links directly to our donation site too. Those two link.
And
I
the
haven't
name is for it? Do you know?
VI Compassion Dogs.
Oh, there you go. So
Yeah,
Compassion Dogs on Facebook, Compassion Dogs on Instagram,
yeah. So just put the VI in front.
the VI.
Yeah, Vancouver Island VI.
Right. Okay, so Vancouver Island Compassion Dogs.com or .ca?
It's no, it's vicompassiondogs.ca.
Right.
And in
So CA
Facebook,
for
it's,
Canada, folks.
yeah. So and it's VI Compassion Dogs for Facebook. You can look us up that way. Yeah.
Excellent. And, you know, do you have a subscription? Can people donate monthly?
Yes, we do. If you go onto our website, you can be monthly donors. We love monthly donors.
Yes.
It helps us plan further ahead then.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's that, you know, when you're thinking of going off to Starbucks to get that $5 latte, just think, you know, that $5 could go, you know, monthly or more, you know. I'm going to have one coffee less a week and it's $20 to you. And a few people doing $20 really does help, doesn't it?
Oh, it helps. If everybody donated $20 that is on our, that comes to our website or is on our Facebook site, it would help considerably.
Yes, every drop in the ocean works.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It all
definitely.
adds up. Somebody says, you know, well, I can only give $5. Well, that's fine. $5 helps us. It all adds up in the
Yes.
end.
Yes. And, you know, what I really want to see is the expansion of this, which means that we need to see more financial support, where you can hire more people to actually train more people to get this out further in the world, because this is a program that makes sense. It works. You've proven that. It can serve so many people on so many levels. And it's the beauty of it is that it's not all pharmaceutical based. You know, what we're looking at is the natural healing through the love of animals. But we're also doing animals love a purpose as well. You know, when they're part of a family, they become part of the, you know, the guardians, the entertainers, the love machine. You know, they're working. You may think they're not, but they are. You know, when you put a smile on your face, or they're there barking at the door telling you there's somebody intruder, you know, they're working. And so having a dog that actually is working for somebody and giving them back that dignity and that that purpose in life. I think one of the things that we've really got to stop doing is throwing people away. Oh, they're broken, just give them some drugs. You know, I haven't got time for that. Yes, we do. If we do not put humanity first, if we do not put life first, all life, then we are not really deserving human beings. So life counts first before profit. Having said that, though, money helps life count. So, so take some of that money so they can make life count. You're not just serving the veteran, you're serving the dog that's serving the veteran, and you're serving everybody that comes into contact with them, because I promise you, you can't look at them without feeling the heart warmth, the smile, and just seeing how beautiful this synergy is. So it's just be a part of it, folks. A donation every month, a little lump sum, whatever you've got to give, sharing this story around, please get it out there, because we want to see them supported.
Thank you so much for taking the time to interview me.
Oh, delight.
And well, people can learn more through the veterans, because I tell you, listening to them talk, you understand what we're doing.
Yes, yes, and I will be interviewing some of the veterans, and you will see this. I will have it actually as a series as well, so you'll be able to see all the shows linked together, and we'll realize how important it is. The other thing that's very important to understand is when people do hear stories like this, and when they hear the stories from the veterans, it makes other people, whether they're veterans or not, but people going through post-traumatic stress, to realize there's nothing wrong with them. They're not alone. This is a reaction to a trauma that they have had, and that please do not look at yourself as being damaged. It's a reaction to something, and you can get well through it. You can go through the process and have a very beautiful, productive life. Yes, there may be triggers now and again, but you learn to cope with those. But this is something that whoever you are, wherever you are, these stories will help you regain your own lives back as well. So that's important. Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
vicompassiondogs.ca. press that donate button. I've got it right here on the posting. The dog that says you're awesome because you're donating. So help them out. Let's get this program out going further. Let's help more veterans around the world. It's a great program. They need the support. We need them. So please, folks, a little help goes a very, very long way. Thanks so much, Bob.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Until next time, folks. Bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.